I wake up early and go to the gym. I like to have my time.
I said, I feel you. I see the difference. Looking good.
Don't play with me. Don't play with my emotions.
No, I'm serious.
Somebody at my job was like, "Did you lose a little weight?" And always when it's a cute girl, I say that, you like, "Oh man, yeah, yeah."
You definitely, I see a big difference from the last time we casted. So yeah, keep up the good work, man.
Thank you. I mean, I've been like yesterday. I went to the gym twice. I woke up in the morning and went at like 6:00 and did weights, and then when I came home, I did cardio at the gym.
What gym you go to?
Planet Fitness.
Okay.
There's one 2 blocks away from where I live, so
that's perfect. I was going to the Retro, and then I was going to the Retro by my job, and during the pandemic, they actually like closed down. So the thing about Retro is that, even though I signed up first, because I've been in Retro since we lived in Brooklyn. That's how I signed up right away by my job.
Yeah, I went with you a few times
in Oceanside, and then that was kind of like my home branch. But if you keep going to another gym, like maybe like 5 times in a row, then that gym becomes your home gym. So there's one by my current job that I was going to last year, and then afterwards, when the pandemic happened, they had closed it down. And then there was and I got the email where it said, okay, this gym is closed down. The East Meadow gym is closed down. I said, okay, no problem, that's fine. And then I didn't read further down where it says, please transfer your account, because if you don't transfer it within 30 days, we're canceling your membership. And I had a great contract where it was like $20 for life, apparently.
It's not.
And then it wasn't like that. So now when I try to sign back up for the gym, it's saying like now there's different tiers. Now there's one for 21, 25, 26. Like, I'm like, yo, what is this? Before it was just so simple. And now you got
that's so crazy
tiered system. I'm like, okay, it made me not even want to sign up for the gym anymore, because I'm like, I don't want, because the freedom that I loved was that I can go to different places anytime I wanted to. Like, when I lived in BK, I went to the one by our house or by the apartment. Now, if I was at work, I can go to one by my job, or if I'm in New Jersey, I can go to one in New Jersey. So I really love that flexibility. But with this current tier system, I'm not really feeling it, since it's way
I'll write an email or something. I would write, because you've been a loyal customer for years. So I would literally say, hey, I've been a loyal gym subscriber for years, and blah, blah, blah. And then I'd say, this is kind of ridiculous that y'all canceled my account. Like, in fine print, or something, like I didn't know this was happening, and now when I sign up, it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Is there a way I would?
I'm definitely going to email management.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
Because it's really like these gyms are independently owned, so they really can't do anything. It's really the upper whoever's in corporate that can really pull the strings. So I'm definitely gonna do, because I actually did go to the gym that's closest to me now to kind of see if I can reactivate my account, but they said they're unable to do it. So I definitely know it's something that has to be done through corporate means. So hopefully I can get that taken care of.
You're gonna have to write a letter and go on social media or something.
I'm gonna have to do what I did with the what was that called? What's that sneaker? The Vans sneakers I had. I don't know. On during last year for Christmas, I bought my sister these Vans sneakers, and I bought 2 sneakers. One of them came fine in the package, and then the other one came in like this raggedy, torn box. And I paid full price for these, mind you. And
someone's dog got to it.
I don't know. Someone wore it on a Friday, Saturday night, and then they brought it back on Monday. And then when I got the sneakers, that they were scuffed, they were they were dirty.
They sold that one to you.
Yeah, they sold it. I'm like, yo, how are you gonna do this? How are you gonna sell this all to me online? I got so pissed. I went online. I wrote a mean
scathing review.
Not even a review. I just put a Twitter. I took a couple of pictures. I'm like, yo, this is how you sell this to me. Actually, it wasn't Vans. It was Dick's Sporting Goods, because I bought it from them. So I bought it from Dick's Sporting Goods. I put them on blast. And it's funny. One quick note is when you're on Twitter looking for Dick's Sporting Goods, you got to be very careful when you're trying to add them, because
I'm sure.
Because I like that name
is not very uncensored. So
exactly. I don't know who made that decision for that name, but
you'll get a different kind of sporting good.
All right. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Steve from the 8BG, and you're listening to the 8BGCast. I'm here with my co-host,
Hungry man.
Hungry man. Don't talk with your mouth full.
Hungry man. Yeah, man.
No, but here with
Sterling.
And we're the 8-bit generation,
aka Major No Fun.
Major No Fun on Twitch. Follow him. And this is the ABG cast with 8-bit generation. As I always say, if you like this video and others on our channel, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. It helps out a lot. And speaking of
subscribers, or if you don't like it, tell us why.
Yeah, leave a comment below. Let us know what we can improve, because we're trying. We're trying here.
We amateurs.
Exactly. Professional amateurs, actually.
But you should not be podcasting while eating. I'll tell you that right now.
You know what? Maybe it's one of those new trends, like mukbangs. It's a podcast and mukbang. So we give you everything. You got a mukbang, you got a video game talk, gym talk. We got everything. It's the podcast for your life.
I gotta eat.
But that's cool. Yeah.
What are we talking about?
What are we talking about? Well, I actually wanted to say before we started, we are 5 subscribers away from hitting our goal in terms of getting our next subscriber request stream. So if there's a game that you would like us to stream, please let us know in the comments below, and also share this with your friends so we can get more subscribers. And we're almost hitting that threshold. So thank you guys so much.
How many are we getting to?
Well, right now it's 150, but usually I try to make a tier where it's like every 50 or so subscribers we get, we'll do a subscriber request stream. So
okay, yeah.
So I think that's a cool idea. Yeah. So to get this started, games we've been playing. Since you're eating, I'll go first. All right. This weekend I was playing Outriders. It came out not too long ago, right? 2 weeks ago. Made by People Can Fly. I think they're responsible for Bulletstorm and Gears of War Judgment. And
I love Gears Judgment.
Really? I know you're the one of the few people.
No, I do. I
know you told me before.
I'm one of the few people that really like it.
Yeah. But yeah, so they made Bulletstorm, which I thought was pretty cool. Back in the day. But yeah, Outriders is what do you call it? A looter shooter, kind of in the vein of Destiny.
The next Destiny 8 or Division type game.
Division, exactly. Those type of games. Lootable loot shooters. I guess they're still looking for a name, but loot shooters. Always online, and it was okay. I know it doesn't have the best reviews, and
did you beat it?
I didn't beat it. I was actually just playing a couple of levels. I played first time I played the preliminary game where you kind of like learn all the moves and kind of like the tutorial.
Did you buy it?
No, I have Xbox Game Pass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's available on Xbox Game Pass. So I was playing that. And it's actually pretty interesting. Like it's like Gears of War meets Destiny in a way. The best way to put it. I think that's the easiest way to describe Outriders is like Destiny type gameplay with Gears of War type controls. And it was okay. It was all right. So playing it online with other people, because I was playing with one of my friends over the weekend. It's actually fun with other people when you get a group together and you do missions and everything. And essentially, you are fighting these, what were these, like these villain type, I'm blanking on what they were, but these monstrous creatures. And the story of the game is that you kind of inhabit this new planet and you're trying to search for whatever. I don't even remember what the story is, but somewhere along the game you get these powers. And then what's unique about this game is that there's 4 different classes. You have a technomancer, you have a fire user, you have earth user, and there's another one: fire, technomancer, earth, and there's another one that I'm blanking on. I choose earth. That's like the melee one, up close range. So essentially it's like gears with powers. So you shoot, loot, and every once in a while you use your powers to kind of get through levels. And each I guess class has different abilities or different like uses. Like the Technomancer is like the uses like a shotgun, and you can use like different powers to make devices to do things.
Did you play each class, or did you just play your own class and then
I
kind
played
of
my own
watch
class.
other
I
people?
didn't play. I just kind of saw like the videos for the classes, but I just so the only one I chose Earth, or this is a better word for it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the Earth class. Whatever you use like the ground power. I'm doing a bad job describing this game.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't
that's
know if it's your fault or it's the game.
I think it's both 50-50. Yeah, it wasn't that fun. I mean, it was kind of cool playing with other people, but I think that's just like, a lot of things when you have other people playing with you, it's kind of like more fun interacting and trying to do things. But I don't think the game is a total disaster. The only issues I had with the game is, towards, like the second or third hour mark, when you get like a third player, actually it's when you get like, you can play with up to 3 players, but sometimes when you get a third player, the game starts bugging out and it will just randomly like, boot me out of the game, and then sometimes you have to restart the game and missions over and over. But it's okay. I think with time, the game probably can be better. That's why it's hard to really judge these games, because you just never know what type of DLC might come out later and things like that. So, if you can play Outriders for free or you have Xbox Game Pass, I would say give it a try, see how you like it. But to buy it $60,
Hard pass.
so it's hard right now. Even though I haven't really played, I probably played like maybe 3-4 hours of it. Maybe 5 hours actually. But I can't imagine paying $50 for that. To be honest with you. And then after that, the next game I played.
I put in about 2 hours into Outriders actually.
Really? What do you think of it?
I played it on PC because before it came out, they had a play till level 7 or something, or a few hours, 7 hours or something like that in PC, and I was like, all right, I'll try this. And it's exactly as you said. It's Gears of War, cover system, and shotguns and all that sort of stuff. And then in the beginning, it's the story kind of okay in the beginning. I was like kind of all right, like trying to see what was going on. And then I think the way you get your powers and stuff, or the way it kind of happens, is a lot better than something like Destiny did, where you just kind of wake up and you're whatever class you are already or whatever. And I think this was kind of cool. And then I just had no desire to see more. And part of that is because these games, they're like huge commitments, right? It's like almost like they're not as like committed as maybe an MMORPG, but they're up there where it's like you're gonna have to play this game a lot to get the most out of it, which is like doesn't sound bad, but it's like when there's so much things to play, I don't know if I want to, like, I already did this with Destiny a few years ago and a little bit with The Division, and then I'm kind of like, I don't know if I can play another one. So just this type of game in a Gears of War style, it's like, if you want that in a looter shooter, I guess go for it. But like I heard there was a lot of glitches and a lot of things were kind of wrong with it.
And even with the Gears of War type of controls, it's not perfect. Like it's not like
it doesn't feel good. It didn't feel good.
It feels like a less refined Gears of War.
Sometimes I was trying to get cover and I just couldn't, and then sometimes I could, and I'm like, is it me or is it no? It wasn't me. The powers were cool, but it's like it's once again, it's like there, it's use something, then it's on cooldown. Use something, then it's on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, cool,
so I'm sure it gets better when you get more powers, like later. But I don't think it's bad. It looks nice. Well, at least I don't know. On PC, it looks nice.
Yeah, maybe PC. It looks okay.
So for me, it looked nice, and it. And maybe when I say it looked nice, I thought I don't want to say art style, but
Does it remind you of like Gears and Mass Effect like married each other? Like I feel like
maybe something like that.
It feels like a 360 game.
I don't
like in
know.
terms of like the designs and everything. Not it feels like a 360 game. A game that could have came out on 360. Like everything, the artwork, the art style, and everything.
Okay, well, Yeah, you can say that about a lot of games. Then I don't know.
I don't know.
Like,
This for
every
some reason
Call
when I
of
play
Duty looks
Outriders, I
like it could
felt
have came out.
Call of Duty really. I wouldn't say that, but
I mean, all of them look like they could be a 360 game with that kind of logic.
what I mean is like the actual, not even the graphics themselves, but just the style of the game. It's like a 360 era type. Like it looks like it's just like a mashup of.
But that's not true because I think the 360 PS3 era, everything was super brown, and the first place you're in is this kind of grassy. I mean, I haven't played
Not Mass
much
Effect.
far past
Was
that,
Mass
but
Effect brown to you?
I didn't play Mass Effect. But
You didn't?
every other shooter from that era was super brown and dried out, and like go back and play like Resistance. It just looks like everything is washed out.
Yeah,
And
but I'm talking
I didn't
specifically
get that
about
vibe.
like Mass Effect though. Mass Effect and Gears of War. Gears of War was kind of brown. The first one kind of brown. But I'm talking about like kind of like
Gears of
the
War
style
was washed out,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I didn't get that exact vibe. I felt it was more Gears of War in the way it controlled and played. Like can't jump, right? Like
No, you can't jump. Just what do you call it? Climb over things. There's a better word for that.
So yeah, all right, okay. Well,
and then last thing I played, and it's just really random. I picked up Pokemon UltraSun for 3DS, and
okay.
I was the reason why I
random.
did that. I was thinking like, man, I haven't played a Pokemon game in a long time, and I know it's just like this big, Pokemon is huge, but I'm like, let me see, let me just do it for the hell of it because I had my 3DS.
So you picked that one up instead of Sword and Shield?
Sword and Shield for
your Switch.
The Switch. Yeah, because I was playing my 3DS and I'm like, you know what? I want to get some more games for my 3DS because I feel like it wasn't getting any love. And it was just a really random purchase. Like it was
like you could have got a more unique game for your 3DS than Pokemon.
I have a lot
of you know what Pokemon is. You know what you're gonna get.
I know what Pokemon, that's true, yeah. But I would see if like there's any like, any difference or I just wanted to just because I haven't really experienced a Pokemon game since like the GBA, not GBA, the GB days, GBC days. Because I really didn't mess with Pokemon for a long time. Because after a while, I was just like, whatever.
Well, after the second game, I got it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But
I got it.
Pokemon is still like a kind of addictive. Like even it's like a super simple game, especially our ages. Like it's just like super simple, super kid friendly type of game. But it's like but it's still like addictive in terms of like catching Pokemon, doing the battle systems, and doing the fighting the trainers. And it was actually pretty fun. It's like I'm trying to see if I can finally beat another Pokemon game after all these years.
But are the Pokemon any like good anymore with the designs? Because like the names though, I was hearing and I was like, because after about 150, 200, you got to start running out of ideas, and some of them have to be really bad.
Well, what I like about UltraSun that makes it kind of different than other Pokemon games that I know of is that it actually takes place in it actually has like a island kind of vibe, like a Hawaiian island kind of vibe. So it takes place in this fictional place called Aloha or something like that. And a lot of these Pokemon, even some Pokemon that we know of in the original,
have Aloha variants,
have a kind of like a variance, like they may have a different type of type.
The Execute or whatever Executor has like a long neck or something.
Yeah, it's like a palm tree. Like the Meowth is like a dark type. So so there's some variations for the original Pokemon and the new Pokemon that they show. They're okay. I feel like after a while, like they all kind of samey. So you don't really care after a while because it's like, okay, this is just like a take on a dog, on a bird, on and
or with a different element.
Maybe like a dog with a bush on his head or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like something stupid. So
this dog is psychic. This dog is fire.
So it's like you just kind of ignore it after a while. Like nothing will. I think the original 50s kind of ingrained in our minds because we grew up with it. But the Pokemon that I see in the game is kind of fine.
And to be fair, that's when the creativity was at its peak.
That's true.
You can't it's not gonna be. I mean, the first two generations, I feel like, even with like you're not gonna hit every name and every Pokemon design is not gonna be a home run. But like, I've started like I was watching some of them, and I'm just like, what is this? Like. But you got to keep creating them. So
it's kind of funny. We're at the point now where we look at this stuff and we're like, "Yo, is this really a Pokemon?" Like it's funny. Like back in the day when Pokemon first came on, we were kids, we're sucking it up and we're just like, soaking everything in. We're like, oh, this is awesome. And I'm pretty sure there were adults probably at that time who were probably like, what the hell is this show? What am I watching? What are these animals doing? And now I think we come to the point where we're kind of doing the same thing. Like I wasn't really like shocked by most of the Pokemon. Some of the Pokemon are just some of them are abstract. Some of them are just kind of like, okay, whatever. But it's still good gameplay, and it's still very fun, addictive, light RPG elements. So, Nintendo got a willing formula. It's kind of amazing to see how fun it is.
How many badges did you get?
I don't have a badge. They have some new systems, like they have like a Z system where you can like attach this crystal to your Pokemon and it powers up one of their regular moves or their corresponding moves.
Well, you don't go across and challenge 8 gym masters to get 8 badges.
So it's this time it's more of like a you go on like kind of like some type of journey to different islands. So it's like a coming of passage, a rite of passage trial where you go to different islands to take on what do you call it? I guess kahunas, who are kind of like the trainers or like the masters.
The gym masters.
The masters, in a way.
Big kahunas.
And then you go you battle them, and then you get another crystal for your Z bracelet that they give you. So it's a little different. It's like same old Pokemon, but a different like twist on it to kind of keep it fresh, which is kind of cool. So, that's Pokemon. And
Great.
What about you?
Oh, what have I been playing?
Yes, sir.
So, we talked about it in a previous podcast, but finally, I had my chance to ooze about some nostalgia.
Okay.
And Square just released Saga Frontier Remastered.
I know he's hyped for
on
that.
everything you can possibly kind of play it on Switch, PlayStation, not Xbox anything though. But you can get it on Steam, you can get it on your iPhone, probably on Android. It's $25 and it's a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece.
Do tell.
Unfiltered, 10 out of 10. Just like I've been streaming it and I've been playing it, and it's been a while where I would take a Saturday and just spend hours playing one game, and this game was it. Okay. With that said, this is one first of all, the remaster looks great. They redid a lot of the sprites. They cleaned them up, made them look really clear. They HD'd some of the pre-rendered background stuff, so things looks really good. They left the music the same. They added some great features where it's an RPG, so they added speed, like fast speed mode. So like when grinding and stuff, you don't have to like wait forever. You can just turn it like 3 times the speed.
Okay.
So it's like that's one of the best things ever put in any game. Like RPGs are grindy. Sometimes you don't want to have to sit through that. You shouldn't have to. So just having this, like now, the cool thing about Saga Frontier is there's a lot of cool things. It's not steampunk, but it's modern. It's like it's not like an old like fashion RPG.
It's not like Knights Hoods, like that, like a European style.
No, you got ships traveling everywhere. You got casinos and things like that. It's like modern day kind of thing. It stars when you start the game, there's 7 scenarios to choose from. So 7 characters. Each character has a very different story, but they each have different objectives, like to get to their final boss. Like one's like a play on I want to say Kamen Rider or something, or one of those superheroes.
Yeah, Kamen Rider.
One's a play on that. One's a story about a girl who's framed for her fiance's murder, and there's a guy that has to save his planet. There's all these different stories, but they all take place in the same kind of world. So you can visit the same locations with like every character. So it does kind of reuse a lot of things between the stories. None of the stories by themselves are going to win any kind of RPG award, but this is one of the RPGs where it's really not the story, it's the gameplay. And what makes the gameplay so good if you give it a chance, and I'll explain why I have to say if you give it a chance,
Mm-hmm.
is because it's so cool. First, the music's great, but it's cool in terms of you get in a battle and you might have one or two moves. But Saga, what happens is you randomly learn moves in battle. So
how does that work?
So it's called the internet calls it sparking, but I forgot what the game officially calls it. But basically, you'll hit, like, let's say whatever you got a person with a gun or a person with a sword.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit punch or slash or whatever, a light bulb will appear over the character's head before they do their slash, and then they'll just do a new move. So, and it's random. There's a lot of moves.
Is the move related to their like skill set, or like is this like some random? Like,
it depends on what weapon they're using. Guy,
does he automatically do like a super kick or like a sword slash?
So guns are a little different because guns are one of the moves. Guns are like magic where you only learn it after the battle's over.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the. But fists and swords, you learn in the battle. So it's really random. So like I'm playing, a couple of my friends are playing, so we're all like watching and like, damn, I didn't even learn that move. Or you know, because it's not like, oh, there's like 6 or 7. There's like maybe like between the swords and the fists, there's maybe like 20, 25, 30 moves that you can learn, but they don't happen that often. So, but it does. And sometimes you might learn a really strong move, like for way ahead of where you're supposed to be. Just sometimes it's random. And so it gives this kind of excitement where you're like in a battle, and usually you have a better chance of learning them during a harder fight. So like a boss fight or something, you might be down and then all of a sudden you pop out like this, and the moves look cool. They still look cool to this day. I'm talking, you got these little sprite characters slashing up and stuff and moving around and doing all this stuff.
Are the graphics faithful to the original release, or are they like
very? The only thing they improved is the sprites themselves. They didn't change anything. The game is very much the same game. Mm-hmm. Like it's just like they really just spit shined it. Like the sprites before, you couldn't really, even on the PlayStation, some things I couldn't tell what they are. Now I can clearly see because they didn't just up-res it, they like redid them.
Okay, so
like they redid a lot of them,
art assets and everything. They cleaned up everything.
They cleaned it up really. It's kind of like, I would say you just have to look and see, but it was one of the things like where everybody I know that's played it said, wow, look at that. But it doesn't lose the style. It's the same thing. So yeah, I've been playing this. I mean, I've already beaten 2 scenarios.
How many
scenarios can range? There's 8. So 2 of the scenarios I beat, they can range anywhere between 6 to 10 hours, depending on if you want to do everything in each file or you want to just kind of go straight to the boss or whatever. They play differently. Like one guy's scenario, you can literally go straight to his last boss right away, just the way they have it designed. So a little bit on Saga. Saga has always been very experimental. They were created basically a spinoff of like Final Fantasy II. The original Final Fantasy II was a very black sheep of the series game. Like it didn't have levels and stuff like that. You had to you gain stats after battles depending on what you did in Final Fantasy II. So the director of that game was able to spin off and create his own series. So he created the Saga series, which started on Game Boy. It had some good Super Nintendo entries, I think, and yada yada. And then and then I think the first game we got here outside of they called it Final Fantasy Legend on Game Boy, but it was really Saga games. But that's how they wanted to sell it here. So
of course, yeah, name recognition.
So the first Saga game we got though was Saga Frontier on PlayStation. The first one named Saga. The games are usually obtuse and sometimes they're difficult because the games don't hold your hands at all. I remember when I first bought it, the first battle I got into, I died, and it was just. And I was almost like, I don't know if I should. That's not a good sign. And you don't know what's going on. The world, you don't know anything. It's a lot of you do not know what to do. Now back then, I bought a strategy guide after I was kind of having trouble, and then I started to understand things, and then I really fell in love with it. So fast forward to now, the remaster adds in also a new scenario that got cut in the original release because of time constraints. But there's another reason why I really like this game. And it's because it is janky in the best way. It is like part of the issue. It always felt like, even on the PlayStation, it just felt like some of it's like not finished. It just felt like, there's all these weird glitches in it. Like there's a glitch, and they didn't take any of this stuff out in the.
So it uses the same base code.
It's the same exact. It's got to be everything's got to be the same exact, because if this glitch is still in there working that way, and it's a glitch that doesn't break the game, but it does make it easier to do certain things. It's just, I just kind of like that they added the new scenario, but they really didn't touch anything else. They just made, like, you don't have to wait through these long loading screens anymore. The battles load super fast, and then you have the speed. And it's not like you don't run to random battles. You can see all the battles on the field. You can just run around them if you want. They added an option to flee, which is great. So if you really don't want to fight things, but fighting's recommended because you power up. But the more you power up, also enemies get stronger too. So the more you fight, So, but anyway, like me and my friends that had it, we all bought it, and I've heard that it was such a surprising success that they've already announced that they're going to remaster like other Saga games and stuff like that. Really? So Saga's been making this weird kind of push as Squaresoft's like kind of other RPG series that's gathering a little bit of steam. I don't know if it's going to lead to like a new game, and I really wouldn't want a new game either, because they're not. Saga Frontier is so different than every other Saga. Like even Saga Frontier 2, which I think is a great game, is so different. Like none of my friends who like Saga Frontier 1 like Saga Frontier 2. Like, and it's not that Saga Frontier 2 is a bad game, but it's so like Saga Frontier is actually a game about like the kingdom and the knights and stuff like that, which is like, and it doesn't play anything. You do.
So it's like back to the roots, like kind of going back to RPG roots with like knights and kings.
It does. It just doesn't. It's for them to call it Saga Frontier 2, and it has absolutely zero to do. The only thing that's similar is that in battle you can learn attacks. That's it. That's the only thing that's similar.
So isn't that the same thing like Final Fantasy games, like where they're all different from each other?
Yeah, you could say that. It's like that. It's like that. But I feel like people like they're so drastically different. Like I don't think Final Fantasy games, to me, like if you play Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, they're different, but they're not like Saga Frontier 2 is so different. Like you don't choose. Well, they like I said, they try experimental things. So there's really two main characters in Saga Frontier 2, and one of them you don't even really play as. You select his scenarios and you see how his life progresses. You get to play certain parts, but it's really telling a story about how he came into power and stuff. That's what it is. And it's really, I think it's really well done and well told. But I was kind of confused as a kid because I was like, you don't even play it that much. But the other guy's file, you play a lot more. There's more of that traditional RPG. They do cross because it's like it's a story over like 100 years. And it's Saga Frontier 2 is very interesting. I'm so glad they're remastering it because it's funny thing is it still holds up in terms of visuals, because Saga Frontier 1 doesn't, because it's the way, I don't know what it is, but Saga Frontier 2 is like this water colored painted kind of thing going on. It really looks still nice today. So I kind of can't wait to see how that's remastered. Anyway, like I said, Saga Frontier. First, let me give you a quick story about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was playing one of the characters' files. It's Blue. He's a magician.
This is part 1, right? Saga Frontier 1, right?
Yeah. Okay. His whole story is to train to be his brother Rouge. And they're twins, and they so you're going around in the world, you're collecting all the magic spells and stuff like that. That's his quest. You get some characters, you're learning stuff, you're learning new magic spells. Then they have this epic duel, and it doesn't matter. It's not really a big stupid spoiler, but it doesn't matter who wins because they're the stupid story. Then after that, you go fight their final boss. So I didn't beat this one as a kid because the boss I thought was too hard back then, or I didn't think about how I played games. So here I'm a little bit smarter, whatever. So I'm playing. And I'm streaming this too. You can just go watch the stream and just watch my expression. But when I beat it, it literally, I thought my computer froze. Because what happens is you're fighting in the middle of the battle, and then like we're in the middle of a dual tech. I forgot to say that in battles, you can randomly combo with your characters. So they just do all these crazy
Chrono
combos
Trigger.
together, which is really yeah. But this time you can't really do it on command. It'll just like sometimes it depends on your speed and if certain moves link together. So it's a lot to figure out. So I'm doing this combo, and before I even like hit the boss, everything freezes, and then the screen kind of fades out into like kind of like a gray, like everything's kind of grayed out, and then it just says the end. All right, so we got four. I got a 4-person. Bro. Bro, are you serious? And that's it. I didn't see how much damage the attack did or nothing. It just said the end. And then every time you finish the scenario, you can save it to a general thing that shows that you beat that person's file. And so I'm like, is that it? And I literally had to go check online, and people were like, yeah. And then someone said, the director meant to leave it like that. This it's so jarring, bro.
So you gotta kind of like know like the meta of the game to really like appreciate it in a way, right?
Just like you can see like where corners are being cut. That has to be a cut corner. There's some like because it's 7 adventures, so there's some jankiness. There's some mature themes in it too, which I actually didn't realize as a kid. But for the most part, it's really you're not going to get the great story, but there's something about the game that I can't wait to go finish it.
Let me ask you a question. So for someone like me who's never really grown up like playing like a lot of RPGs, you know, and let's say like just for someone who is just looking for like a regular game, would you recommend this game to a new person?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't even recommend it to you. I heard it sold surprisingly well, like I said, right? My thing is, I think if you're willing to sit down and like learn and talk about it with somebody that knows what it is and how to play it, you get more out of it. But I actually wouldn't even recommend it to someone who is kind of a casual RPG, because I think it's not hard, but it can be pretty hard. Like it doesn't hold your hand at any point. It doesn't tell you how the battles work. It doesn't tell you how anything works. So like that's why I say when I was a kid and I played it, I just didn't know. The only thing I kind of figured out is that it depends on the character you pick, because some characters have kind of more standard scenarios. But like when I picked the magician, they just throw you in, go find all the magic, figure it out. And you have all these locations you can visit in the game. Some are caves, but you just don't know anything. And especially like as older we are and stuff, I think like a game, like, I don't know. Like I could say Saga Frontier 2, I would recommend because it's not so obtuse. This game is like, the first one is just like, I don't know, but everybody who like played it, like, Justin, Ray, or like we all bought it and we're just playing it. Like we're just having so much fun playing. We're talking about how our adventure is going. We're showing us like in our chat, we're like trading videos of us fighting different last boss and stuff. And it's like, oh, look at the character I'm using. That's one thing I forgot to mention. There's different character types. So you have humans, you have monsters, and you have robots. And robots kind of break the game because they don't learn techniques like humans do. You can equip them with anything. Some people say it's like you just staple like you can staple like 5 different armors to them. Like it doesn't matter. Like they just can put it on anything. And their stats increase based on what they have equipped. So robots can get strong super early in the game. They kind of break it. Like it's almost like they didn't even realize this is a thing. So you can just use a robot. Like there's not a lot of them, but you can use like 2, and they have super high defense. So robots kind of break the game. Then humans are cool. They take the longest to level, but humans learn the text. They're the ones that learn like the best, coolest stuff in the game, and they can use magic. Monsters and robots can't. So monsters are unique in that monsters at the end of the battle, if they fight a monster, they can take a move from the monster, and a monster. And this is another thing where I say it's vague. Depending on what monster skill they take, they turn into a different monster. So they'll never really get their original form back. Like whatever you recruit, they look very different. So one of my playthroughs, which is on Twitch, like you can watch you can see me having like an aneurysm trying to figure out how to get a good monster because I'm at a boss fight that's so difficult that I'm like, I just need a monster with better HP. So I'm just like trying to find the right monster, and I'm just randomly guessing which skill to take. And then finally, like in one battle, I take the skill and I turn into this like Kraken thing. And I was like, oh fuck. And it has mad HP, and I was like, perfect. Then I had another monster, so I just turned him into a Kraken too. And then it was like, that was the only way I could beat the final battle, because the final battle is ridiculously hard in that file. But I'm so giddy about this game. Like when it got announced, I was like, they're remastering this game that didn't sell well, that like is janky, and like no way in my life that I thought this game would ever get remade. It's amazing, and I'm so happy that like this is like, I mean, like literally these are people that I know. Like Ray's only been playing shooters and things like that. This game came out, he said, I got no reason to play on my computer anymore. I'm just gonna play this game, and that's all he's been doing. Like this, I don't know what it is about this game. The music, it's like that old PlayStation.
Who's it by?
So good. I can't remember his name, but he does the music for all the Saga games. So if you play any Saga game, you will hear his influence. And
anything outside of Saga?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Let me check, because I know he has music on Apple. You know, of course, I have the Apple iTunes. Like Apple Music has all his like soundtracks.
Awesome. Hopefully they don't delete like Castlevania.
Yeah, right. I can't believe that. Let's see, Saga, your library. Kenji Ito, that's his name.
Yeah, see,
Kenji Ito.
Any other games? Are you looking at the library, or are you looking at his wiki or something?
I'm just looking at the library. He has some music in Smash Brothers, so that means he has music all over. I don't know exactly. No, I don't want to check my library. I want to check Apple Music. Here we go. Kenji.
Let me see.
Ito.
Global One. Okay, a lot of PlayStation.
Yeah,
games.
it looks like that, right? All I'm seeing, Dawn of Mana, Children of Mana. You know, it seems like he sticks with Squaresoft stuff.
Okay, so that's not.
But anyway, yeah. So that's what I've been playing. I've also been playing a little bit of the Master Chief Collection.
Okay, nice.
Played that, and it's so weird how fun Halo multiplayer is. Like
I love it. Yeah,
play like it's still fun. It still has that, even though like I'm playing on PC, so it's a little different in terms of like how I played before. But like seeing some of those reach maps and some of the like, Halo 4 is definitely not good. This is, I can finally say, like, Halo 4 is not in the same league as the rest of the Halo games. The Halos that I'm most interested in are Reach, because I like Reach 3 and like
Reach was the best. Reach was like the pinnacle of Halo.
And the Halo 2 remake, I kind of like. I just like how it looks very different than the original Halo 2. And Halo 2 is very good. Halo 2 is so weird though. Like the funny thing is when you have all of the, like when I play multiplayer, I'll just turn all the Halos on. So I don't know which map I'm gonna get or which style of game. So that's very jarring. Then
so wait, what do you mean? Like, are you talking about like the campaign or like the multiplayer maps?
I just turn the multiplayer, and you can just turn on every Halo, and it just randomly selects a map in a Halo game. So you can go from Halo 4 in one game to Halo 2 in another game to Halo Reach in one game. So it's a lot, and then you feel how different each game is to the previous one or whatever. Like Halo Reach has a certain weight to it. Halo 3 has a certain, Halo 2 has a certain weight to it. But then you feel the difference in some of the weapons. Like, hey, like I forgot how ridiculously broken the energy sword was in Halo 2. where you lunge halfway across the map when you target someone. And if you do that and then you play like Halo Reach with it, and then you realize you can't even swipe someone in front of you, it's like it's fun,
I think Halo 5 they brought that back where you can like lunge at again.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so. Because I was playing Halo.
I only played a little bit of Halo 5. And
I think Halo 5.
I heard the multiplayer was pretty good, but
Halo 5 multiplayer is incredible. I always mention that it's a great multiplayer.
I believe it,
but the thing I don't understand what's going on. They're always updating. Budgie, not Budgie. 343 is always updating the game. But and I haven't played Halo maybe in like a year or so, and I just recently started going back on it because just because I wanted to play something, and it took away like the solo slayer, like how you can go in the match by yourself and you face other people, and I'm like, yo, wait, they took that away. I was so surprised.
It was like 8 free for all, right?
Like a free for all, yeah, that's what free for all, where you can just go and play, because I usually like playing that one. Like I like playing this, that one instead of a team and things like that. And apparently, from what I read, because I had to look it up when they removed it, because the last time I played it, I think maybe last year or 2 years ago, it was there. So apparently, they're not getting the numbers that they need during multiplayer. So they had to like make some concession where they had to cut out like the solo slayer or free
split screen and stuff like that.
Not even split screen, just like solo slayer. Like you play each man for themselves, and like 8 people on the map, each man for themselves, instead of like playing like the 4 versus 4 type gameplay. So that was what that's all they have in terms of Slayer. All they have is like really the 4 versus 4, and just like kind of like they're all team slayers pretty much. And I'm like, I was kind of bummed out about that because sometimes sometimes you want to go solo, sometimes you want to just wreck people by yourself.
I feel you. I mean, personally, I don't mind getting on a 4v4 team and just wrecking people, and then
I don't mind either, but I like the option to be able to be like, okay, mano and mano with with other people. They got duos and everything. But I was kind of surprised about that because I thought that was kind of like a staple with Halo.
I feel you. So I was playing that, but yeah, that was fun. I feel like I might have been playing something else, but it's obviously nothing compared. And the other thing too, I said too, is one of my other favorite games, which I don't think it's as favorite as Saga, but Legend of Mana is coming, which is also another remaster. I just like, oh my god, like my PlayStation era days are just like coming out. Like, oh my god, like Jesus Christ. All right, so let's get to the other meat and potatoes.
Well, like speaking of PlayStation, about 2 weeks ago, Sony announced that they were closing down the PS3, PS Vita, and PSP storefronts, and that put everyone kind of in a tizzy. Like a lot of people started like trying to download their old games or see what they could do before the closure. And the closure was supposed to happen, I believe, July. This was supposed to happen sometime in July, and I think the PS Vita was sometime in August. But then after the outcry from so many fans, and I guess a lot of YouTubers who put up videos about here's the 100 games that you can no longer play on PlayStation.
Yeah,
Sony
download these games quick.
Exactly. Watch my list of the top 10 PlayStation games that you can no longer play. Sony heard their outcry and decided to rescind that decision. So now the store is no longer going to be closed. The only store that's going to be closed is the PSP store.
One, I think.
PSP in July. I mean, not in July, in August. So PSP will do one that's closed, which it's
whatever. Wait. So, what I would like to see, what I would love to see, is a sales chart of when they announce it's going to be closed. Would it just go like this, and then they're like, "Oh, we'll keep it open," and it just goes like this.
I think I have a feeling they're gonna keep it open, but then I feel like they're gonna at some point they're gonna sneakily like kind of like close it automatically.
Yeah, they'll keep it open for another couple of years, maybe like another year.
You think a couple of years or so? I mean, I feel like it's probably be a good year, and they'll give everyone another chance to kind of like get PlayStation 3s or whatever. Because all right, so for me, I think we had a discussion about this, and I think your take was that what was your take on it when we spoke about it?
My take was there's no I'm sort of an old curmudgeon, no country for old men. Like no one cared about these games until they said they were taking them away, and then people went crazy, like, oh, wow, man. And I get it, like you buy something and you feel like you should be able to use it for forever, and nothing lasts forever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think the way I look at it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it gets really hazy in this digital age where you're buying licenses for your games. You're not really buying your games to play. You're buying the ability to like play the game.
Games as service.
But you're not really buying, like, it's different between buying a physical copy. But even the physical copies nowadays,
it's just really digital keys.
A lot of the games are online now, right? So like if they decide to shut down a server or something of Destiny 1, I have a physical copy of that, but if they shut that down, then that game is useless. Doesn't, because it's an online game.
You will have a nice coaster for a cup, so
Yeah, I'll have a nice nothing. I'll have just a limited edition. Oh, you bought the PlayStation that has Destiny with it box. And I just think like that's something as we have to kind of adjust to. We come from an era of cartridges and things like that.
We owned everything. Like you have a game, that's your game.
We had
you can hold it, you can trade it, you can do whatever.
But like even like it's weird because even on like if you look at PCs, they've all stepped over for like the most part. Everybody on the PC landscape has already stepped on over to this kind of lifestyle where you cannot. I think you still can some games, but
with PC it's different because PC anymore. You can actually upload it to. You have more flexibility to upload it to like another device or transfer it. Usually, right? Like you can still do that. Like the file of the game is still available for you to manipulate and still use digitally. Kind of like MP3.
Let me use a different example because while you're right, for instance, I still would have to, like, if Steam shut down and said, okay, you got 10 days to collect your games and get them off our. I have so many games on Steam that there's no way I'll be able to do it all. Like I have 400 games or something on Steam, and the thing is,
but if you can find a digital space for them, you can actually put it somewhere and play.
I feel like that's like telling someone on PlayStation just buy some more space and download whatever you want and just hope to death that your PlayStation don't break. That to me, it's the same as if I download all this stuff.
But that's different though, because with PC you can transfer files. With the PlayStation, it's kind of
proprietary. But there's still Well, this is proprietary to a PC. What's that?
But you can do but you can get another PC, which is like PCs are just like
You still you can get another PC, but
specific. You can change it.
But it's still to me, you can still get another PlayStation.
What if you can't find another PlayStation? That's the thing.
It's like someone saying I can't. Like right now, if I wanted to build a PC, you can't find a graphics card. People are shit out of luck.
Okay, but then that's a different scenario.
Then I gotta wait for what?
That's a different scenario. That's a way different scenario. Having a
I don't think it's that different.
Yeah, it is different because with PCs are plentiful. You can build a PC. You can do, PCs can be transferred to anything.
And PCs are much more expensive too.
That is true. I'm not saying that, but it's a lot different. It's like, certain games, like for example, the PS3. They're never gonna build another PS3, and we know how different the system is compared to like systems before and after. Which is why like a lot of people who made things on the PS3 had difficulty because they were running like what it was like motion engine or something like that. Like the hardware itself is just like very different for the games, which is why PS4 wasn't like compatible with the PS3 games and everything because it was just like a very different architecture that Sony was doing for their for the PS3. So I feel like that's why so many people were freaking out because the way I look at it. I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't know how many games haven't been re-released on the PS3. But I feel like if they close down those stores, what happened?
Oh, I'm gonna say one thing about PC. Just because you have a PC in a game doesn't mean the game will work because PCs operating systems and things. Old games sometimes aren't updated for new operating systems. That's why there's a website called Good Old Games that actually takes the time to do some of these games to make sure they work on, but you don't get that with old games. So to me, you could have an old game on PC, and it just doesn't like. There's some games. PC problem with PCs too is there's so much compatibility issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember some games that I have games that just don't work, and the developers aren't either not around or whatever. You update it to Windows 10 or something, and they just won't work. And then you shit out of luck there too.
Oh, no,
You can't do nothing about that. You can't go. You know, the only way you can do is maybe trick your PC into thinking it's old. Sometimes Windows has like a back, but even that don't work a lot of times. So it's sometimes like you get that shit out of luck. You have a digital game that just won't work. I just no, I mean it's not 1-to-1 right with the PlayStation. I just feel like I think as a gamer, this is just something we have to kind of accept. I don't know.
It kind of goes in the conversation of like game preservation, because I think what happens is, if we just kind of like say, oh, we don't really care about these games, or, we don't download these games or try to keep them, there's a chance that there's certain games that will never be released as far as we know. You know what I mean? Like PT, for example. PT, very popular game. I've never played. I know you guys were playing it years ago, and you guys still have it. But, that's a game that
it's gone. You can't play it again. It's on. It was
even
on
in Sony, even to precaution
on my PlayStation
to block it from being played in other systems, because I think someone was trying to transfer it to like
sell their PlayStation or something. Yeah, someone sold a PlayStation that had it for a lot of money. Like that's how crazy it was. Like so you can't transfer. I have the download. Like how you can go and download whatever you bought, right? I have the download, but you can't
nothing with it. I read something that said Sony specifically put like a patch on the PS4 where that can't be played
to make it
to
not
block it. So that's kind of crazy in a way.
That's unheard of, and that's definitely like something you can't see anywhere else.
And that kind of brings me to another point too, with like game preservation in terms of like for example, they had announced, like I think for the Switch, the Ninja Gaiden Sigma collection or something like that. Or Ninja Gaiden collection. I don't know the title of it. And it's actually based off of the PS3 Ninja Gaidens, which from what I've heard, a lot of fans don't like. They said that those are kind of inferior versions. And the version that was really kind of like popular or really popular with fans, Ninja Gaiden Black, they can't use because they had admitted, I think Team Ninja had admitted that they lost the code for that game. And that game's kind of like lost to the sands of time. So they can't rebuild that engine. They don't have any of the, the working blueprints of the game digitally. So it's kind of like just gone. So I think these kind of things that happen, because it still happens to this day. And a lot of people are afraid of that.
Let me ask you a question. Do you play emulators?
I used to when I was younger. Now, currently, I really don't. I think the only reason why I don't play emulators is mostly because I think it came from a bad experience. I think there was an emulator that did something to my computer, and then or a game I downloaded from an emulator that did something, and then I just kind of like just never played emulators again. And for some reason, I enjoy playing physical games. Now that I have the ability to kind of like do that, I can buy games and everything. Back in the day when I played emulators, is mostly because I didn't have income to really play a lot of the games. So a lot of popular games that I played.
Well,
emulators.
Why?
Go ahead.
I asked is more of the idea of when you say game preservation, I feel like emulators and stuff are pretty much one of the better ways to preserve games, older games, because the issue that we're talking about to me isn't really that new, because it's like, okay, they took down the digital store, but it's really, in essence, it's not different than like after a while you go to a regular store and you can't buy Nintendo games anymore because they don't make Nintendo games anymore or whatever. So I think sometimes we get spoiled by the idea of it's digital, it's online, it should be there forever.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I think that's maybe what I'm trying to more say is like we live in besides I think emulators are great because they preserve a way, because even the Nintendo Classic, this is all emulated stuff. It's not a real Nintendo run. It's an emulator. So I think emulation's a great way. I'm not saying we'll get to a point where we're emulating PS3 stuff, even though people are already doing that. But the idea is I think game preservation is an important thing. But I think it's similar to I think it's similar to preservation of anything where it's just, there's always going to be stuff that is just lost to time for whatever reason. For instance,
But you wouldn't
talked
think
about,
go ahead.
well, you said miscode, like the code.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, like you
it.
wouldn't think like in times like this that people would, games would still be lost to time. You know what I mean?
But it's like, think about the original Kingdom Hearts was a game that they lost the code for. So when they played the new King, they had to rebuild when they made the Kingdom Hearts remaster for the first Kingdom Hearts. I think they still had the second and third, but the first Kingdom Hearts, they lost the code, and you're like, and in my head, I'm kind of like, you're like, how does that happen?
Exactly.
And then I'm like, can they not deconstruct the game? Because I know they have copies of the game. Could they not? But probably not. Like, I don't know. It's probably really hard to do.
Maybe games on disc, right? Because I mean, the game's already. Right. I'm not tech. I don't know the tech portion of it, but it's kind of crazy. But
apparently it must not be easy if they can't do it, right?
Exactly.
It must not be like.
But you're definitely right in terms of like not even just game preservation, but just kind of like games as service. Like we've grown up in an era where we buy games, we hold them, and we can use them as much as we want. Like today, I was just randomly playing some GBA games, testing out my DS, and I'm like, okay, I have this game, I have that game, I'm playing it, whatnot. And then but there's gonna be a whole audience, because I feel like what I want to mention too is that the people who got angry with Sony or were kind of like like I guess pissed with that decision, kind of probably like our age or somewhere around there. And they probably grew up in the era too, where they have this, they have their games, they hold it and everything. But I feel like there's gonna be a time where the new audience, like like these little kids right now growing up, where they're going to be used to games as a service, and they won't know anything else. They won't know anything about CDs or keeping the disc or anything like that. They'll grow up knowing that games can be taken from them at any time. And even though it's even though we do this for convenience, in terms of like video games as a whole, it's really, I think, like you said, shit out of luck in a way, because it's like there's nothing you can really do. You know what I mean? And you were trying to say something?
Well, I'm just thinking. I think if you look at it, it's just like I said with the you can't buy Nintendo games like that anymore unless you auction them or whatever. And I feel like it's like, imagine. It's got to be the same kind of issue. Like, to me, to preserve games physically is a task, because you really can't play either, because like these things have some sort of limited life.
Yeah, there's a shelf life.
Yeah. So like you unless you keep your Super Nintendo wrapped up, it's gonna turn yellow, right? Like
my Super Nintendo is only yellow on like the controller ports.
Okay, but it's gonna eventually should turn all yellow at some point.
I feel like what I heard, it was only certain as a Super Nintendo. Okay. Like there's a certain like batch that does that.
But I feel like the idea is like one day you want to say, maybe 30 years from now you thought you took good care of it, and you put the game in and it just doesn't work. then it's like, I feel like so I think part of the idea is in a digital age, you feel like that should never happen. Maybe
you can always play,
right? Like you should always be able to play now, because we're not limited to this kind of technology where it's a cartridge now. It's digital information. It should be stored in a cloud somewhere, and it should be available for use whenever. And I kind of agree with like I think I understand why people are upset. Like. It's you feel like, why y'all I still have my PS3, I still use it or whatever.
And you mentioned something in our first conversation. You're like, a lot of people didn't care about the the PlayStation 3 games until they told them that they were going to take them away. And you're like, well, that's not back to not caring anymore. And I feel like that's another thing too. Like people, like just human nature, when we know that something's being taken away, we get angry. Like, it can be there forever.
Give it back.
And then, the minute you know that it's gonna go away, you're gonna be like, whoa, we gotta fight for this. This is ours, Even though I don't care for it now, I still at least want to know that if I do ever want to go back to it, I can. And I
don't want to defend Sony. I don't want to defend Sony on this, but it's not. But if you even look at business, they probably said, well, this store is like, they probably had 10 people visiting a day,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, and it costs money to upkeep it. This is what
Yeah.
we one thing I'll say. They're probably costing them more to keep, because if it wasn't costing them anything and they could just sell games on it, I don't think they'd care. But it's probably costs much more to keep the licenses going for these games and things like that. They got to pay. So they're like, well, most of you are not buying this stuff anymore, and so we're just gonna cut it, and then everybody lost their shit.
And then it's crazy too. Like it's kind of crazy to put in perspective, but that store has been around since like it's like 14, 15 years old at this point. So it's like
this like 6 is when
So it's been around for a long, long time.
I mean, yeah, we're the PS4 is old.
Exactly, that's old now. That the PS3 is even older. The PS3
like, wow,
it's been around for a while. They're generous. Because even Nintendo closed on the Wii store. Like Wii was like a juggernaut. And
that's true.
You know what I mean?
And people didn't. And it's funny because people didn't make a big stink about. They made a stink, but not like
there's certain games you couldn't download anymore because there's certain games that were exclusive to like the Wii that were never re-released anywhere else. Like I think Konami had.
This is the idea. This is what when you talk about game preservation and kind of things being taken away, and this, I was thinking about like how Nintendo did that with the Mario thing, like how you can't play Mario 35 anymore, or whatever it is. You can't play that anymore, and I just thought like how crazy is that? Like,
you know what, Nintendo? We had discussion before. I think Nintendo, creates their own they force the value of their game to go up or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that, there's a word I'm trying to look for, but they kind of like put this like forced value in their game. So like something like Mario 3D All Stars, a game that should be out regardless. You know what I mean? Like it should be a game that's like available to purchase. And with Nintendo games, they don't ever lower the price, so it's always going to be a $60 game. But because they want to increase the value of their game, they want their games to be valuable and to be known as like to have some kind of value. They force that force that into the ecosystem so that their games are just looked at as like more valuable than, not that I say that they're not valuable, but that was kind of like make them look more.
Was that like they said something right there, right? They said, wasn't that there? Somebody asked like, why do Nintendo games not?
Yeah, because they want to keep the value, because it kind of goes back to something about 10 years ago. Because remember when they had like the Xbox store, like the Xbox 360 Live Arcade, they had the PSN, like independent games. Nintendo was really against independent games because they felt like they were kind of tarnishing like regular games. Like if you make all these like these high budget, not high budget games, but these video games, they're like $2 or $3, and people get used to paying that price. They're gonna look at another game like Pokemon. They're gonna be like, why am I paying $30 for this Pokemon game when someone made another Pokemon clone that's only $2 and I can just buy it right then and there? You know what I mean?
And that's not as good though.
It's not as good probably, but it's the fact that someone could work on something and they could sell it for $5, and then it's almost a similar experience. Not same polish, but if you're just looking for a similar experience, you can just kind of do that. So I think Nintendo was really kind of against indie developers at some point because they felt like they might devalue games to the point where people might not look at buying a $30 Mario game or $40 Mario game for a portable system as
and I would say, how did that work for them? Because if you look at them now, they're like, we got indie game showcases now all day.
Yeah, that's true. I think they came to a conclusion where their games are always going to be like, well, Nintendo games are always going to be known, have a reputation for being great games. You know what I mean? And it's right. They're right in a way, because Nintendo games don't ever go down in value. The only time they go down in value is if usually they select certain games to be $20 or certain games bomb, like Wii Music. That game that was like the bargain bin, like really quickly.
In my head, I know you said you'd let me borrow Mario Odyssey. I was always thinking about, I never played it because every time I look at it and I see it's always $60. Okay, I saw it for like $50 the other day or something, but the fact that it's like so high, I'm just like, I can't, and I don't know. I just can't.
Mario Odyssey is actually worth it.
I know. I'm not saying it. I'm the guy. I bought every Mario game up to this point. I even bought 3D World, but I bought it. It wasn't. I got that for like $40 because that was like, I don't know. It's not the most popular, but Odyssey was like, I'm not going to game stores either where they have them like on sale anymore. Like I don't really go into.
Even game stores don't have them on sale. Like I used to work at.
No, they don't. Right, but
I used to work at like even go to game store. They're all like, GameStop already, they don't like make, they don't even give you barely any discounts for used games. But like Pokemon, like for example, Pokemon UltraSun, I had just bought that. Used, that was already like $37. And the plus tax is already the same price as a regular, 3DS
But
game.
like, I feel like at least before the Wii or before the Wii U, I feel like except for certain games like Smash Brothers or something, but like you could go in and find, like I have a couple of GameCube games that are Nintendo made. Yeah, they're like $20. Like because I didn't buy Mario Sunshine when it first came out. I waited and I got it for like $25 or something like that because whatever. But like, I feel like now it's it. You're never getting that kind of price.
I think about 10, 15 years ago, Nintendo learned to be like, you know what? These games are not going down. I think it started with Pokemon, actually. I think Pokemon sold so well, they're like, we don't ever have to make these games cheaper. And it was true. Like, again, kind of like back in the day when I used to be in the video game store, I used to see Pokemon games, like even the older ones, like even if new ones come out, they're all $40 across the board. Maybe one might be $35, but they were always like $40 across the board. I
mean, I bought it. The last Nintendo game I bought, and I only played it once, sadly, which was the Mario Tennis game. I only bought it because it was on sale for $40 on sale. But I was hankering to play Mario Tennis because I loved the GameCube one. So, but yeah, but back to this whole like preservation thing, and I just feel like that it's kind of like life. You just kind of have to roll with some punches. Like you should fight for some things, you want to preserve some things, but I think like down the line you're gonna look back and say like there's gonna be a lot of things that we used to be able to do and play that we just it's just not
lost
gonna
the time.
happen.
It's
gonna be lost the time. And whether some people have these crazy collections and maybe unopened things that still work, but for the majority of people, like and it's kind of like it's almost like any kind of thing in history. It's like we can look at gamers nowadays. Oh, these kids, these battle royales. They don't, they don't know a good single player game. They, these games are free now. Like what is that? Come on. The freest game we got back then was demos that came in a magazine. Like these people, you get people making careers off of games that don't cost a damn dollar.
Yeah.
Like you can play Apex Legends, you can play Fortnite, you can play a lot, not even just shooters. There's like,
but what? It's not even about free games. I think it's just about the fact that at some point Fortnite's gonna end, right? What if Epic just goes under and then you can't play Fortnite? Yeah,
Fortnite's gonna end.
It's gonna end at some point, and it's not.
Warframe is gonna end.
There's no way you can just be like, oh, let me do a LAN party Fortnite. No, it's just gone. The service is gone. You know what I mean?
It's a server. It's on a server, and it's a service game that will end one day.
And then it's just kind of
like what games lost the time that I thought was pretty fun that no one else did? Lawbreakers. Cliffy B made Lawbreakers. Lawbreakers, I thought was. I mean, I'm not saying his marketing and stuff was right towards that game because I don't think it was. But when I played it, it was fun. And of course, I only played it when it was free. But I played it, and I was like, "Damn, this game should have been bigger." It was fun to play. It was like it felt really high skilled, and it felt like satisfying. But then it's like, oh, Lawbreaker servers are going down, and the game's free for a couple of months, and then we're taking it. And now you can never play it again.
Yeah,
there's some weirdness. Do you remember the other Cliffy B game that he made, Radical Heights? That came out,
yes.
Where was that? It was that.
Did you play like that beta or something like that?
Yeah, it was early release. It was supposed to be like it was a battle royale, but it was like game show themed and all this. And it was so bad. It was so bad, but it was so interesting because, like, look at this shit. This is someone released this, and you can't play that anymore, because it's just kind of interesting to see. Like, we're definitely gonna have what I like to call like on like my phone, because that's another issue. There's gonna be like a graveyard of games that you just can't play.
I remember there was an RPG for like Android, like something Part 3 or something. And I played it like maybe 10 years ago because I normally don't play video game phones on my video games anymore. Video games on my phone anymore. But there was this RPG for my Android that I played kind of a long time ago, and it actually had like a really dope look to it. Like it felt like a Square RPG game. Like the look of it, and it was like an
What was it
RPG.
called?
Something part 3. I would have to really look at my.
Part 3?
Yeah, it was a part 3. I don't know if it was really a part 3, but it said something 3. But it felt like an old school RPG, like the 16-bit RPG, and it was free. It was a free game, and I forgot how they. I think there was maybe advertising in the game or something like that, or like while you play. I can't remember. But now that game is just gone. You can't download it. I tried to go back to it. I saw it like as an icon, and I just can't download it anymore. So yeah, that's always good.
Let me just take a good look real quick at some of the games that I can't play on my iPhone that I purchased. Some of these games I spent money on.
Did you have Eternal Blade?
Eternal Blade?
Remember that epic game on the iPhone that they made a big deal about it? Like it was like current. It was like came out like during the 360 era.
Well, I didn't play Eternal Blade, but I did play a game called Eternal Legacy.
Eternal Legacy. You sure you didn't have Eternal Blade? I feel like you talked about it before.
I don't know. Infinity Blade.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Infinity Blade.
Oh yes.
What happened with
Infinity Blade?
Right.
Infinity Blade. Let me see. Infinity. Damn. Can I? Is it? Can you not even get it on the Apple Store anymore? Because usually, let me see. It might be gone. Yeah, I think it's gone. Wow. Because it was used to be on a point where you could kind of always get it, but they just said they weren't going to update it anymore. But it's gone.
Yep.
Now I just check. Oh, that's another thing. Wait a minute. Okay, no. Yeah, it's. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Because I'm looking at games. Like, okay, for instance, there was a Castlevania puzzle Encore of the Night. There was a Symphony of the Night puzzle game on iPhone that came out in 2010. That's gone. Just there's so many games. I had a Scott Pilgrim interactive comic book that's gone. Metal Gear Solid 4 Touch. That was a game I spent money on.
What was that?
I mean, like, let me see if we can see.
Here's the game. The game is called Enosha 3 Children.
Enosha Chronicles.
Yeah, Enosha Chronicles.
Yeah, there was 5 Enosha games. I probably had 4 or 5 of them. Like, they were all free. No, the first one wasn't free, but the rest there was that. There was I'm looking, bro. There's so many games. You can't even download. Like, I know they have a new version of Tetris, but like I had a different version of Tetris. I remember when iPhone games used to be called Lite. When they had a demo, they would just have a light version. My God, this is almost depressing. Except the first app I downloaded is still available, and that's AIM. AIM is still there. Tic-tac-toe is still there. There's some. Look, 2008. So I started getting stuff from 2008. One of the first RPGs I paid $10 for is still working. That's kind of crazy. 2008. This game is still able to download on iPhones, which was a Sega. It was a Sega CD RPG that they called Vi, which they actually brought to iPhone like years ago. But wow.
Yo, you know what's funny? I'm reading some of these reviews on the Google Play Store about the game, and it's crazy. It shows you how crazy that's how time is kind of like just crazy. So someone wrote this, right? Someone said it's a really interesting game, though. One of the first games that made me a gamer. It's so sad to see the terminated service. Like a game that was released on the Android game. It's like it's like someone's first video game. They ever
Here's
played.
Another thing. Talking about, like, I remember one of these RPGs that I played on my iPhone called Chaos Rings, which was by Square Enix, and it was like I thought it was cool because it was in 3D. It looked like high budget. It had voices and stuff, and I didn't really like it so much though because I didn't like the way it was designed. But then they had a sequel called Chaos Rings Omega, which kind of just was an improvement, and then they had a whole blown out bigger project, Chaos Rings 2. These were full games with like good stories. I played the hell out of them, and they're just gone. I can't play them. The only way you can play those now is on a Japanese PSP. that's the only way you could actually play them, and you only could play them in Japanese. Like, and we had English here. They released them on iPhones here, but never really released them on PSP here for whatever reason. And if you look on the Square Store or whatever, I mean the App Store, you can still find they have Chaos Rings 3. Like, it's a little more modern, but it's, but I'm just like, I look at that, I'm like, first of all, I'm like, I downloaded too many fucking apps, but like at the same time, it's like I used to just like, there used to be, me and Ray used to talk about the golden age of iPhone gaming was like about 8, 9, 10 years ago, where we used to look for sales and like, but let's try this game. It's only $1. Huh?
That's what they had a big push back in the day. I think when they were trying to legitimize like the App Store, they're like, we got the video games you play on your consoles, we got them on the phone. Like there was a big push back in the day.
Or we have like these whole new phone gaming experiences too, like games you can just play on your phone. It wasn't always just but it was like, it's fun because the great thing is like some of these games would just be like $1 and it would be well worth it. You'd put in $1 and play a game for like a couple of weeks. That's to me kind of worth it. We would do I was just looking like half of these games I have, they weren't free. I spent money on them. And it's like the idea, like, 9 times out of 10, like most of these games never will see the light of day again. Here's a good story. Mad random, but here's a good story. There was another RPG called I can't remember the name of it, but Ash. It was called Ash. And Ash was made by like a couple, like this studio. I can't remember, SRRN Gaming. That was the name of the studio. They made it from, the funny thing is they made the game from RPG Maker, because I know exactly what the RPG Maker sprites and things look like. So I was like, but so obviously gameplay wise and stuff, it wasn't impressive, but the story was really good. I was into the characters, the writing I thought was really good. So I'm playing this kind of janky old school RPG with a really nice story, and it ends on a cliffhanger, right? It kind of ends on a cliffhanger. So, sometimes you wait years and then, you search on the App Store and all of a sudden I see Ash 2 and I'm like, holy shit. And, they had a little bit of money from the first game, so they had their own engine this time, and it was a little bit, but they were like, Ash 2 Chapter 1. So I was like, okay, whatever. You can buy Chapter 1 for like $2, or you can buy the pass for like $5 and get all the chapters when they came out. So I'm like, of course I'm fucking buying the pass. So I buy the pass, and I beat Chapter 1 in like 3 days. I just ran through it. The game was buggy. It didn't work right. And frankly, it was a little bit of step down from the first game. But I still wanted to see how this story ended, because obviously now it's chapters. Each chapter is obviously going to end on a whatever. So yeah, so the first chapter came out, and it might have taken like 6 months for the second chapter to come out, which is way too long.
Like Sonic 4.
And yeah, they had a website with the updates on how the game was going, and they did pretty well. And I wrote to the developers and stuff because I was so invested in this game.
Wow.
I wrote to them, this and that. They said, we're really working on it. So after they pushed out the second chapter, which I beat in like 2 days, they were like, good news, third or fourth chapter are ready to go. We just have to get the okay, because they were originally their own developer and publisher, but then the second game was them and Konami. So they said, so I was like, what's up with the third, fourth chapter? They wrote back to me like a few times, and they were like, it's done. We just got to wait on a publisher to approve and stuff like this. And it never finished. I never know how that game ended, because they said Konami, them joining up with Konami made it really hard to release each chapter when they wanted to. They didn't give me my money back, of course. We only paid $5, but they apologized about the people that paid for the whole experience and only got 2 out of the 6 chapters. And it's kind of like this could be nothing worse. Like I feel like I might be going through this with Game of Thrones. There's nothing worse than having a series that you may never able to finish. Like, I don't even know if this guy's going to finish these books before he dies, because
been waiting. He has 2 more books to write, and this game is like, I don't never know how that ends. That's like, this is digital bullshit. And of course, I paid for it. I paid expecting to get all these chapters, and nope, assed out, man.
That's crazy. I mean,
can't even get the soundtrack anymore, but I still have it saved up.
Like, I feel like these, phone games, like, especially like, games made, for like these phone stores or digital stores, that's his own thing. It's like that has its own issues because, Android, Apple, they're not into game preservation or whatnot. That's not really their forte.
The business, they don't care,
the business, it's whatever, whatever apps get approved and everything. But like, this kind of seems like it's the future of gaming itself too. Like I had mentioned before, I'm still playing Luna, Amazon Luna, which is like their how would you describe it? Their game streaming store. Like it's kind of you have a choice of games that they have available to you that you can play.
Yeah.
I've been playing Katamari Damacy Rerolled, and that's actually a pretty fun game. But it's fun. It's neat to be able to play any game that you want at any time without having to have a console. All you need is like either a controller and just like connect it.
You think that's the future?
It's going to be the future. I feel like once
what's Google's called?
Google Stadia.
Google Stadia.
Yeah, Stadia. Like I feel like it's going to, even though it's not really popping right now. I feel like if they keep on course and keep like, because I think with
they have
Stadia,
to improve it.
With Stadia, what's bullcrap about Stadia is that you buy games at full price though. You know what I mean? And it's still digital. Okay. To me, I think that's not the way to go. I think the way to go is Xbox Game Pass, Amazon Luna.
Have a Game Pass and then they're gonna do with the Xcloud, right? Exactly. Like that. That to me seems like
that's the future. Like that way you can just play any game that you want. As long as it's
available. Just have a subscription, $10 a month.
Yeah. I mean, even though that's kind of BS in its own way too, because with Xbox Game Pass, there are some games I wanted to play, but it's like if you don't play them in a certain period of time, they're gone.
But I feel like for what you get though as a service, I think that's to be kind of expected because they only make money. They're like obviously, like I said, they got to make money somehow, right?
Yeah, so of course. Yeah.
If they just kept putting games on and just building this thing that you had to pay $10 a month for, they're losing. They're going to lose money at that point. I'm not saying this is like a fair way, but I think the value you get anyway, because I'm still like, I have Xbox Game Pass on PC. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, sure, I've had it for a while actually too, but I stopped subbing and then they had this deal for like 4 months for like $30. Sometimes I was like, I gotta take that. And I'm looking at all these games and it's different games than last time, but in my head I'm like, there's so much value here, it's ridiculous. And I think like imagine you have like, now my value comes, I have a PC and I have to play, so my PC is still very expensive, but imagine if all you needed was a controller and a screen and you pay $10 a month and you can play everything that everybody's playing. That's ridiculous.
It is.
I think once they master that, go ahead.
I was gonna say with Xbox Game Pass, I'll say the good thing about it is that certain games that come on it, even if it's there for a limited time, at least once you get a taste of it, if you like it a lot, you can actually go buy it. So I think it's an incredible promotion for games. Like for example, Outriders. I would never buy Outriders full price. You know what I mean? Especially after what I played. But because it was on Game Pass, I'm like, you know what? I don't have nothing to lose. I can just play it.
You already talked about. I mean, I was gonna say that's my Crackdown 3 story, right?
Exactly. Like, yeah. He's like, I have nothing to lose. Like,
I would never buy that game.
I can play it. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, okay, I'll keep playing it because so maybe I might play it again this weekend.
But for that price, I enjoyed it. I played it all the way through for free. I mean, and that to me, that's always a game that will be like a sore, like. Why? Like out of all the games I had time to play for free, I played one of the worst games. Yet I enjoyed it.
Yeah, because there's no stake.
If I beat it, I enjoyed it enough to play.
I think sometimes too, getting something for free, it just makes it easier. Because if you pay let's say you pay $60 for it and you get that experience, you're gonna be more critical. I think it's just human nature. We're more critical to things that we spend money on, or if we spend money on it, we will find ways to justify it, even if it's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
you know what I mean?
I'm more likely like sometimes if I spend money on a game. Well, this is not so much anymore because sometimes I just buy games now just to buy them. But usually I will feel myself like I paid for this, I better play it.
Exactly.
And
Or you
sometimes
gotta
with
find
all
some
these
value
free
in it.
games, with all these free games, I'm like, I can always play this. But for some reason, Crackdown was a game that I played and I stuck it through to the end, which I don't know. Maybe it's because I didn't play the other ones, which are supposedly much better or whatever. But it was all right. I wouldn't recommend it, but it wasn't. I didn't say, "Oh my god, this game's jank. I can't play it." I was like,
But you see, like it's like we mentioned before. It's like Netflix. You can watch a bad Netflix movie and you'd be like, okay, whatever. You kind of shrug it away.
I'm loving all these HBO. Like I said, I think watching Justice League at home was the way to go. I don't know if I would have been able to take that in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, because it's a 4. I never watched a movie more than I think the longest movie I watched in theaters was probably 3 hours. Probably Avengers. And
I think mine is the third long of the Lord of the Rings movie. Was so long but so good.
Yeah.
You see extended editions of like 4 hours. I have to watch each one of Lord of the Rings movies.
I haven't seen any of them. It's funny. I actually have Lord of the Rings on DVD.
You need like your nerd card revoked, man.
Well, the reason why I don't know, I just never saw them. There's no reason why. It's just one of those things that I haven't really I didn't really watch. But kind of like Star Wars. Like I didn't grow up with Star Wars.
I know you watched you waited till late, but then you saw what it's all about. Like
now I'm not kind of caught up in it. So I'm like, I'm digging Star Wars and stuff.
Well, here's the good thing. Lord of the Rings, I just watched the Fellowship of the Ring, which is the first one, and I started watching the second one. They still hold up very well. So if you want to go watch them when you get a chance, I recommend them. I think they're very good. They're not gonna shock you or something, but they are the quintessential fantasy movies. Like there's not a better movie with that.
I'm not really much of a fantasy guy. I
figured that's why you probably never seen it.
I was more of like a sci-fi guy. Like I always like sci-fi stuff.
Even though you waited to see Star Wars, so
I had no choice. I didn't grow up with Star Was one of those things. This is one of those.
You say you're more of a sci-fi guy.
But here's the thing, though. Like as a kid, there's only so much the access you have to watch things is always dependent on like certain things. Like I didn't grow up with cable growing up. I didn't watch certain things, and certain things. Unless it came across me like for free, I would never see it until I started.
But let's take it back a bit, because let's not act like Star Wars Episode 1, right? Let's say that's when a lot of kids started watching Star Wars. I
didn't go to movie theaters at that time either.
I understand that. Okay, I understand, but like there's a point because it's one thing if you came late to the Star Wars game in like 2005 or 6 when you were like 16, 17. But you came to Star Wars like 3 years ago or something like that, right?
Like 3 or 4 years ago,
so saying to me you're a sci-fi guy and it took you that long, because there was a point where you're 18 and you're an adult and you could have checked these movies out.
But Star Wars wasn't really on my radar at that point. It was more, it was
okay,
more like
sci-fi guy.
Okay, it's more because I was like, at the time I felt like, okay, I probably like past Star Wars, and it's like one of those things that just kind of passed me. Like I didn't watch the first 3, and back then it wasn't easy. Like,
and you worked at like a game store, like
but then sometimes too was it always easy finding like the first 3 movies? Because I felt like there was always like some BS with the first 3 movies where
they were. I mean, once they came to DVD,
I think they remastered them, and then you couldn't find the original. I don't know.
But most people, I mean, like, besides all the little extra stuff or things they put in, it's like, it should have been at some point of you seeing these movies. Like, okay, my dad had all the movies on like a couple of VHS tapes, so that's how I watched them. But like, you were the first person I knew that did not see a single Star Wars movie till like whatever age, which is like ridiculous. But no, I suggest that if you get it, if you don't really like fantasy,
I mean, I'll watch it if it's a good movie. Like, I'm not.
But it's a good movie. I mean, all 3 are good. I think The Return of the King is.
I just have to find time to watch it. I when I tell you I have all 3 of them on DVD. I have all 3 of them on DVD. I just
don't give me that, because you watched Justice League, so you have time somewhere in your day.
I did put time for that, but that's a little bit different.
You just have to dedicate
convenience
factor.
Time. Going back to our conversation, convenience factor. You're streaming. All I have to do is go on to HBO Go and then put it on, and that's it.
Oh, guess where all the Lord of the Rings movies are? They're on HBO. So let's not.
Oh,
So,
even better. Now I can watch it. I didn't realize that.
now, the only thing I don't know is I don't know whether to recommend the extended versions or the regular ones because I've never actually seen the extended ones, but they're 4 hours long. I might go back and watch them.
That's gonna be tough.
It might be a project for me.
Boy.
I'll tell you this though. I don't really. Boy, I remember I saw the third Lord of the Rings movie with Tamel, right? We went to the movie, we saw it, and I'm emotional. So I'm watching the movie and I'm really into it. And the ending is like, it's not like what you think, like, oh, or will make a person. It was just something so epic about it that I am tearing and bawling in the theater, like, but I'm trying to hide it from like, the whole time I'm like, that face you put on when trying not to cry, and just
I'm good.
I'm doing that the whole time because the end of that movie was so like beautiful to me. It was.
Now I gotta see why you cried. I'm
not even kidding. It gets me. If I watch it now, it'll still get me. It gets me every time. I just, I mean, it's this movie won like 12 Academy Awards for a reason. It's good. I believe. Oh, speaking, I know, and soon, but speaking of movies, so like Oscar season and stuff, and there's always like a movie that like comes and sweeps the Oscars always every year or whatever. So I always like to see what like all the fancy movie people think are good movies sometimes. So I watched this movie called Parasite. I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I heard of it. Like it's like a Korean movie, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. I don't know how to like. You think it's one way and then it turns out the other. It's so good. I mean, it's strange, but the imagery and it's like the way it's shot, and it's not like a boring like hoity-toity movie like The King's Speech or something like that. I tried to watch, and I fucking fell asleep in the first.
Yeah, I could tell that movie's boring. I didn't even have to watch it.
My god! Yeah, I wanted.
There's some movies that is so far up there. I think there's
The King's Speech. There's a movie called Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which had Gary Oldman in it, and it was supposed to be, and it got like all these. It was like a spy movie. So I'm sitting there, and I think I made it through 40 minutes of this movie, and I couldn't tell you a damn thing about what I watched. It was so like it's the first time in a long time I felt like I was stupid because I couldn't follow this movie. But everybody like, oh, it's fantastic, and this. I'm like,
I feel like sometimes, especially like Hollywood, like sometimes people just be like, as long as you're like prim and proper and you're doing like this, like some movies always like, okay, you guys are just too far up your ass with this movie.
Like I try to watch Russell Crowe in Master and Commander when he's like on a boat commanding, like, oh god, I fell asleep. Like I just like couldn't make it through. Some movies are great, like Lord of the Rings one, but that's like I felt that this movie Parasite. Like me and my girlfriend, we watched it, the whole thing. It was one of the movies. Like sometimes my girlfriend, when she's not interested in something, you could like she tried to watch Cowboy Bebop with me, but it wasn't happening. She'll go to the kitchen and say, I'll say, should I pause it? No, you can keep. I'm just. So that's already like she's not into it. But because if it's something else, and like we watching Law and Order, and she goes, and I let her pause it, please pause. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I can tell when you're into it. So we were watching this movie. She's like, okay, I'm gonna go take a shower, but we got absorbed and we just couldn't stop watching it. So to me, that was a sign like it's definitely interesting.
Is Parasite on HBO Go?
It's on Amazon. It might be, it's not on HBO Go. It's either on Hulu or Amazon. I don't know if Amazon Prime Video, but I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon. But it's not too long. It's like 2 hours, but it's it's such an interesting movie. It's just like I liked it a lot.
Okay, thank you for the recommendation.
Yes, check it out. If you saw it, I think it'd be a very interesting movie to discuss because it's one of those movies that no one can tell you how the fuck it's gonna go. But
so would you want to do like a cast on it?
If you watch it, I'll definitely cast about it. I might feel like I need to rewatch it because it's not confusing, but there's like so
A lot of
much
stuff involved.
to it.
All right,
There's
I'm gonna
so
check it
much
out.
to it.
You know, speaking of movies,
Check it out.
Mortal Kombat's coming out. Is the Mortal Kombat
Tomorrow.
coming tomorrow? Okay, that's when
Or
it comes out.
tonight. It's either tonight or tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow, yeah. Because I was thinking, I thought it was coming on Wednesday.
Have you watched the? It might be out. I know some people saw it already.
I mean, it was out in
internationally.
It was out in
Some people have they use the Fire Stick or whatever. They hack it and they watched it. The first review I saw, somebody said 6 out of 10. They said he said it was gory, I guess, but it was not that good. This guy's not a movie critic, so he seems like kind of those regular Joe Schmo guys. So if I'm feeling, if he said it was like a 6 out of 10, I'm feeling like maybe it's probably not going to be as good as the original. The original is like a shoddy, cheap.
I mean, the original. I think the reason why the original was so good is because I feel like it knew what it was. It wasn't trying to be like this, grandeur movie. It wasn't trying to it
was cheesy and cheap but fun.
It was based on a video game. It knew it had to involve fighting, and that was it. Like it never felt like it was trying to be more than the material or like just try to, you know what I mean? Like it felt like we know exactly what movie we're making. You know what I mean? It's a movie that's
very But this one looks like they understand.
I think so too. I feel like
they're taking a serious tone, but they look like they're not trying to. It's not like Annihilation or some of the. This looks like they know. Right. I know that doesn't even qualify as a movie. I feel like if we wanted to, just me and you could make our own movie starring me and you, and it'd be better.
I think so too.
We could use like our phones and film a movie, and it'd be better. Then have you seen some of those YouTube videos that these guys, like some black kids, are doing, where they use it's definitely a phone app that has like really cool effects. So they'll do things like power up and they fight each other. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. These kids do that.
Videos like that. King Vader, like there's a kid named King Vader.
I think that's what it is. I think
but a lot of he's just dancing. Like the music will be on, and he'll be dancing to the beat, and it'll just be like but he's always doing like anime characters. Like one time he did Cowboy Bebop. He was Spike, and he got like a couple other people. Then he had like The Walking Dead and everything. Like it's really like it's hard to explain it, but it's mostly like dancing the beats as anime characters or like fictional characters.
I have to check it out.
King Vader, he's actually pretty fun stuff to watch. So it's actually original, just fun things to spend like 2 or 3 minutes looking at.
All right, but I think we should call it quits here.
Nah, I think we should. I'm good for another hour. Let's go. Let's go.
It's 9:30. We always spend a lot of time.
All right, that sounds good. All right, so we'll wrap this up. Again, thank you guys for watching all the way through. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe.
Watch it in chunks if you have to.
Watch it in chunks. Yeah, this is like
This is a pretty long one.
Let me see how long this is.
I don't know. We got carried away.
We did, but I think it was good. I don't even know how long it is. I don't even see the timer here. But so if you guys like this, thumbs up, subscribe, helps out. And thank you for watching. This is Steve.
Sterl.
We're the 8-bit generation. This is the 8BGCast. And thank you guys for watching. Have a great night or have a good day, whatever time of day you're watching this.
Oh my gosh, just send it.
Have a great okay.